So this guy sent me a text this morning and he was listening to Grand Theft World last night and he lives in Grand Junction. He grew up in Pueblo and he left when he was 17 and he only came back 2 times and he's 50 now.
Oh, wow.
But he's going to do something for the show.
Good, good.
So the piece that is showing my right there is the piece for the show that I'm working on right now.
Okay.
Shoot, I messed up.
There. Right.
That is my message here.
With your paper clay.
Yep,
Nice.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, So this is yeah, this is a sigil for I have the inalienable right to have a place to lay my head.
It looks pretty large.
It's probably 24 inches by like, or maybe like 28 inches by maybe a little over a foot. I don't know. I don't have a ruler right now. I probably do have a ruler right here. Look, I'm just
Is that
kind of
yours?
extreme artist mess right now. 12 inches, 12, like 15 by about 28. Not that.
Beauty.
No, I'm trying not. I'm trying not to get have them be too enormous, but.
Well, because you're going to have how many pieces?
I was gonna try to have 12. Is that all right?
That's fine. We'll figure it out.
I'm aiming at 12 pieces.
So,
And
yeah, I
it
have-
a lot of time a while ago, but now it doesn't seem like I have that much time left. So, sorry that my phone is swaying. It's because it's like, this is my jerry-rigged tripod thing that I made out of copper wire hanging from the ceiling.
It's
Oh,
a
so
very
this is your
natural
art-
sway, so it
What?
It's your art cam. Okay.
It's my art cam, man. It's like it is an art cam. I should take a picture of it if I could, except it's my phone, so I can't really take a picture of it, but. So, we have to do a meditation and stuff, right, Woody?
I'll show this piece I had set up in front of my canvas I'm going to be working on tonight was this could be in the show as far as for the show in July. This is my piece on teachability. The figure in the middle is the most teachable versus the other ones on the left and the right. You got you might not be able to see it very well on your feed, so I'll read what it says in the brains.
Center one.
Yeah, the center
Okay.
one, it says skeptical on one side and naive on one side, because like to truly learn, you have to kind of have a naive skepticism about stuff. And then the right side is all like gullible and naive. So if like you're too naive and you believe everything, then you're learning fine, but you're learning everything instead of, and not filtering the truth and the non-truth. Whereas the arrogant and skeptical side over here is like all you're just so arrogant that you can't learn anything, you think you already know everything. And then it's also there, the heart represents the intuitive part aspect, and like if you have a balanced sense of things, you have more intuition involved. And so that's why there's a connection to the heart in the middle one, and there's not a connection to the heart in the other one. So
Nice.
that's funny. My camera, oh, that's just a YouTube feed. Sorry, it's looks a little behind on. That takes a little getting used to the preview here. But yeah, so there's that. This week we've been trying to follow this narrative subject line. It's going to take us a really long time to get through everything. It's like a natural law themed. And last week we talked about teachability. This week, let's see here, we're talking about the requirements, the human requirements for freedom or non-freedom or slavery, if you want to call it that. If you really want to call it what it is, you know.
I prefer that.
So yeah. So I'm probably going to work on a painting. I don't know if I'm going to do the like two schism kind of deal like I did in this last week's painting. I was thinking of just painting more of like a piece to represent the ideal mindset in order to have freedom kind of thing.
Mhm.
So my idea right now was to actually probably have to flip this canvas to vertical, maybe. We'll see. But I was going to do like a head kind of thing, and then I was going to have the brain, like a heart-shaped brain, to kind of represent that it's like love. You know, when you come from a place of love, that's the best place to start at, is at love. You know, because the opposite would be to start at fear, and that can lead to chaos, external chaos for sure,
Mhm.
and internal chaos. And so if you start with love, then, and then I was going to put a crown on top of that heart, which would represent the self-governedness, you know, on the inside, you know. So you understand objective morality and you can self-govern yourself, so you don't, you know, harm others. And so that way, you know, because of the scale of freedom is attached to morality. You know, the more moral we are, the more freedom we can have. The less moral people are as a collective, the less freedom we have.
Well,
So
less trust of other humans.
well, yeah, and that's why, and then that justifies authority, and so then that's when your freedom goes away.
Mhm.
So yeah, we do usually normally start with a meditation, so we should probably jump into that. Do you want to do that for us tonight, Joanna?
Okay, sure. So just sit quietly, you know, and back straight, feet on the floor if you can. And I'm just going to do that heart meditation where you put your right hand over your heart and you breathe in,
Cool.
count 6, 5, and then breathe out a count of 6.
Sounds good. Figured I'd change my camera to show myself here while I'm meditating.
Okay, so now we're just gonna ask the creator to give us the energy and the intuitive thought to bring into manifestation whatever imagery can best communicate natural law to others. And help us to have a lively discussion that will be helpful to others. Aho. So, ready?
Ready.
Ready. Okay. So I'm just gonna yeah, I was thinking about this topic. And just when you brought that up, actually, the idea of coming from love rather than fear, like I literally demonstrated that this last couple of days because I had some fear. I opened my mouth and I created chaos. So, but it is really difficult to source love when you're in fear. It's a difficult proposition to get to that place mentally and spiritually where you can source love when you're in that fear place. That's my experience anyway.
I
It
agree.
is.
Yeah.
That's that to transmute from fear into love it's not easy. It's depending on the level of fear you're in too, that can really if you're really deep into the fear, it could be even harder to dig yourself out of that.
I think
polarized state.
Yeah, I think it's one of the top 5 plays that they keep using is just various fears.
Yeah, fear, guilt.
Right, but then so they got me in certain areas in fear, and then what do I do to get out of that fear so that I can come from love no matter what they're doing?
Well, one way is to go into meditation and try to ask your heart mind questions, where you can, if you can get good at it and practice with smaller things and stuff, you can synchronize that, because they found the brain cells inside the heart. And so that you can do these meditations and then you can get into a state. And one of the things they told that if you do the research into, I think the Heart Math is the company that does a lot of this research. But anyways, they talk about like how you can, the heart has like really short answers. And yeah, if you're going to ask the heart anything, you should probably just ask it a yes or no question, because, and it'll know the answer before you're even done asking the question. But like, if it's coming from the brain, because it's like a really like convoluted, story. It keeps like analyzing different sides, and it's like, oh, like all these things could happen if you make that decision, or like, So, and I think I was listening to a presentation with Greg Braden, and he has a story where he used that technique because he was getting ready to take a tour group to Egypt, and there had just been a nasty terrorist attack on Cairo not long before their, like a week or two before they were getting ready to leave on their trip out there. And so he went, and there's a road he likes to walk on. He went up there and he did that meditation to synchronize his heart and brain. And then he asked the question, should we continue with this trip? His heart said yes. And so he told all the people that were emailing and calling them, yeah, we're still doing the trip, don't worry. And, the fact that they still did the trip, there were all these tour groups and stuff or these tours they had scheduled, for all these ancient sites and different things. And, all these tour guides were getting all these calls for people canceling their things. And he had like maybe 20, 30 people coming out there with him. So it was a pretty big, deal for if he were to cancel that. And so the fact that they didn't cancel when they got there, the people were so happy. They're like, oh, we're so grateful you didn't cancel. We're going to open up this whole wing that no one's been in for 20 years. And you guys get to see that, and they were like, whoa, what? No way. Seriously? We never in our wildest dreams thought we were going to be able to see that, and so that was a pretty powerful, decision that he had to make, but he listened to his heart and it paid off. So,
Oh, I know.
so that's
I
just
have to
an
do it every
example.
day. I have to do it every day, but it can totally suck too.
Oh yeah.
It
So
can
I'm just
suck.
saying that can be one way, like if the news or media, or there's a lot of just like information coming in at you that is disturbing, or it's causing you to have fear and anxiety and stuff like that, then maybe asking your heart, getting into that. And it takes practice. You can't just expect to like meditate and then do this and, for you to have enough clarity to know, because you know how your head is. There's always all kinds of thoughts, flowing around in there and stuff. And so it's hard to the trick is filtering that noise and, really understanding which things coming from the heart and the rest of the noise that's the brain stuff. But yeah, I mean, it can be done. And I think that, because we were saying how can you get out of that fear state? I think that might be a way that internally you can kind of start working on yourself a little bit with that technique.
Right.
Get it early.
Yeah, true.
What do you mean, Jeff?
I mean, so you're realizing that you're afraid of something, you're fearful. As soon as you realize it, accost it, pick it up, look at it, examine it. Lots of times it comes from a source, right? So maybe that source is not such a good place to go. I mean, not you guys are, you don't go there, you don't watch mainstream news, but certainly plenty of people I know do, and you can tell what they were watching. It's just so apparent and transparent.
Oh yeah, no, I actually, people I know who are very close to me watch mainstream news. So sometimes I have to walk by the TV.
And what are we gonna do?
And I just go la 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 la.
Right.
But I mean, sometimes I make the mistake of watching shows on Netflix just because I like to take a break from my mind,
Sure.
They have a very negative message. Like even the good ones have a non-natural law, non-spiritual message. Like people are always relying on themselves in every show on Netflix, and they always are like, Murphy's Law, like the bad thing always happens. And lately some of the newer shows are all like, let me screw you over before you screw me over kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that negative messaging, I've actually had to swear it off recently. I had to say, I can't watch this anymore. And that's that.
Yeah, I've certainly found myself falling into that. My wife watches a lot of Amazon and Netflix, and I'll say that I do too. I talked to her, about what we're talking about right now, and I don't know. She doesn't seem like she wants to look too deep, So I'll just leave and go downstairs, or go lay in bed and read or something. When I can tell that this is not a good thing to watch, I don't want to give it my energy.
exactly. Yep. But
It's-
it's like, how to find good stuff now, it's really difficult. It's
Yeah.
gotten more difficult. I mean, you can find like the old stuff, the
Yeah,
Waltons and
John Boy.
House on the Prairie and stuff. How many times have I watched that stuff already? But because I've got to find a different way to relax my mind. That's all.
Uh-huh.
Start watching like educational children's programming. No, just kidding.
But not
I don't know if that's much better.
Sesame Street. I is part of the. This was very sad. I heard this on some podcast I was listening to when I was driving up to your mom's house one time. They were talking about Sesame Street as part of the thing, as part of the cabal. I was horrified.
Oh. Do you guys know of Canopy?
What's that?
So if you have a library card, you can get it. And I think you can see 10 shows a year. So there's lots of European, old European, not mainstream films that are, there's some that are contemporary, but a lot of them are older, but independent. And there's a lot of choices. So we found
Really?
that.
You just use your library card?
You just use your library card and you can sign up online.
Oh, wow. I haven't
Yeah.
used my library card for 2 years.
Well, you still got it and it'll work. I think it's every library system in the country.
Oh, really? That's
allows
very,
you- Yeah.
thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah, it's way better programming than what you're going to get on Amazon or Netflix.
Well, that's really good to hear because, yeah, I like to have something that my mind, just to give my mind a rest,
I agree. I agree.
But this is just not good because I think what I realized is that when I watch stuff like that, it basically feeds my fear without my being aware of it.
Of course.
And then I have to have courage to do something. It pops up out of my subconscious and, tries to prove to me that everything sucks and don't bother.
Well, yeah, that's certainly part of the message, isn't it?
Oh, hell yeah, that's totally the message. Yeah, exactly. Turn your will and life over to the government because everything sucks, but don't bother. But if you've noticed, like nature still, I mean, even though we're poisoning nature mercilessly, it's still doing its nature thing as if nothing has ever happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even in like Chernobyl, I watched this special on like the Chernobyl like nuclear fallout thing, and there's like birds and like insects and they're living fine. There are some ones that are kind of like not doing okay, but like, and they're worried about because the leaves for some reason aren't decomposing on the ground out there.
They're not.
Like, yeah, so there's like this really thick like mat of leaves and they're worried if it like there's like a forest fire or something that would like release all this radioactive stuff. But anyways, like they're studying like mostly they were studying like wildlife and stuff, and it was interesting. But they also found like some stuff is like it's actually healing itself out there, like the planet like it's doing stuff to like fuel the fallout or whatever, which I don't know, I thought was kind of interesting.
I understand that mushrooms have a really positive effect on radioactive materials.
Oh yeah.
And they'll
yeah, I've heard about that stuff. And like there's some, I can't remember their names, but there's people who believe that we could clean up the whole planet with mushrooms by using mushrooms because of like they're like filters, like when they grow
So
them,
we
like
just take the
filters.
mushrooms and everything is better now?
No. It's like you plant mushrooms in places that have had like bad stuff happen to
yeah,
it. And, like,
toxic waste of one type.
Yeah,
or
they filter it out and make it good again.
Oh, that's neat.
Yep.
Like even like, I think even like at dumps and stuff, if you put mushrooms there, it like helps like break stuff down. I don't know. There's a lot of benefits to the mushroom thing. I've definitely heard that as well.
Well, I mean, that's the kind of thinking. So getting back to the topic, right? That this is the kind of thinking that we need to be focused on for freedom. Like how if we were focused on freedom, like we would probably be thinking about like how can we heal the earth and what can we do to help each other and stuff like that.
For sure.
Rather than
Right. What does a non-slave do?
Yeah, what does the non-slave? I'm not quite sure.
Whatever they want, as long as it doesn't harm anyone.
Well, that's good. I like that.
But there is also responsibility too, so there are times when you have to be responsible, otherwise you might not survive, and part of responsibility is, being a member of the community, because that's one of their things they're doing is they're trying to destroy a community versus, because when there's community, then you have people, like if something bad happens, you have like a community of people around you to help you get out of that. And that's another way to get out of fear too, is through community, it's a proven fact that if you're part of some sort of a community, you're going to be healthier.
So 4 young artists just moved into that space that was on the north side of my building. They just started moving in Saturday.
Oh, wow.
And they're cool. I'm just really happy to have them here. And, so we're creating the community here. So
That's
that's
great.
fantastic.
yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. They're cool. You'll like them.
Oh, well, I look forward to that. I mean, I just wish that we were closer to you guys than we are, but well,
come on down to Pueblo. You can move here.
It is what it is. Oh man, it would be hard to leave where I'm at. I have such a beautiful spot where I'm at. It's like, it would be really hard to leave that spot.
I understand.
It's like, I'm just like right on the creek and the mountains. It's, it can't go wrong,
Yeah, I kind of had that place in Durango, and I just decided to leave it, to the unknown, which was then Pueblo. So, and Pueblo's not that beautiful. Where I lived was extremely beautiful, and it was very private, and the river was right there, and the mountains were right. I could see them, and it was good, but just like it was too nice, too shiny.
right.
Well, Pueblo's got that Lower East Side New York City feel to it.
It does. It's gritty.
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah, that's kind of where art comes from. It doesn't have to, but certainly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I live in a trailer park in Thornton in unincorporated Adams County, kind of, and it's pretty low down. I'll tell you. There's 3 gangs in here.
3 gangs in the trailer park. Wow.
I've heard 3.
Shit.
And everybody. My boyfriend's lived here for 20 years, and so now he's like we're like the last, almost the last Caucasian people here. So not that I'm like, it's just worrisome because I don't speak Spanish, so it just worries me a little bit, but yeah, it's low down. And then we have like this 2 homeless camps outside in the back. Like we have this open space in the back, and now there's like these 2 homeless camps out there. And, considering that I'm doing the inalienable right to your own lair, I'm not going to, say that I'm opposed to that. It's just that I don't feel safe going out there anymore.
Sure. And that sucks.
That's all because of this mentality, it's because, we're all in that mentality of, if somebody sees that they see something they want, they just take it, That's the mentality that most people are in right now.
Yep.
Which is why we have so little freedom.
Right. Right. So how to exist with that. I actually have to get some more flour. I don't have enough flour, or I have to get some more, some kind of dry thing, because there's too much water in this clay here that I made. Oh, maybe there's some good. But so yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, I'm not, I in my young art fantasy world, I would move to Pueblo, but I do have an obligation to my partner to stay here.
I understand. I just kind of was just asking. That's all.
Yeah, I
Hey,
know.
well, at least
Tempting.
I'm not afraid to drive down there every once in a while,
Cool. Yeah.
hang out, definitely.
Idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
Yeah. So
sure.
you guys would definitely come down here before the show, won't you? Sometime.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah,
Cool.
for sure. Yeah, we
I
will.
mean, if you, I can put you up here. I got I have a deluxe blow up bed, guaranteed not to go flat.
Wow.
And a sofa. But
That's pretty cool.
actually, I do have a pop-up camper across the street. So
Wow. Cool.
stay
Well,
there.
Nice.
So I'd be happy to
Thanks.
put you up.
Thanks for the offer.
That sounds like, well, something we'll definitely talk about.
Yeah.
Could hang out with with all the artists and everything.
Mhm.
See what people are up to. I mean, what we're doing up here too, outside of the art thing, we have a ham radio class that's really taken off. And now community is building around that. And we're meeting at this place called the Independence Institute, which is probably the libertarian offices, I'm guessing, because Liberty on the Rocks is where we got our connection to these people. It's an actual nice building in Denver with the parking lot, and they let us meet there for free. And people are actually buying ham radios and,
Nice.
getting into the ham radio thing, because we have to be able to communicate with each other should the cell phone thing disappear.
Right. But my personal opinion on the cell phone thing is that they need them. It's such a great thing of tracking and tracing and removing freedoms, even though it also gives you things too. It's the way I see it. So there's a woman, Janet Wilson Smith, and she owns a radio station in Pueblo called KYOC. And she did an interview with me about 2 weeks ago. And her and her husband are very awake. They do a conspiracy show weekly. I think it's on Sundays. Anyway, so when you do come down, I will arrange for us to get recorded and talk about the show.
Oh, neat.
So
Nice.
yeah, give me
That's
heads up
fun.
and I can arrange for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Let's put this away for a minute so I can.
Yeah, that would be great. Publicity for the event.
But you
Yeah.
want it to be more than just a one night. You want it to be like a bunch of stuff.
Absolutely. For the duration of the month, I would like it to be, a bunch of stuff. So there's a group of women and they call their group Transmutation. And I may have mentioned that to you, but they did a performance here last summer, and they said they're all in. So they'll probably do a dance thing, and they'll probably do individual art too. I don't know. They're really cool. You'd like them. They're all just totally awake as we are.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's the kind of thing that I'll just stay until like 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't want
Yeah, I'm
to.
hoping that it's just a killer party, man.
Well, calling themselves Transmutation, you can tell they've definitely dug into the Hermetic teachings, because that's the Hermetic teachings are all about that transmutation from
Mhm.
state to state. And I was even talking about it earlier, how like transmuting out of that state of fear into love, you know.
Yeah, you said it, and that reminded me to talk
That's
about.
awesome.
Yeah. You know, I mean, there was a time when I was fairly fearful. I mean, this goes back many long years ago, but I just I don't know. I'm not affected by it, I think. I mean, people around me are for sure, but I don't know. Maybe I'm
I
just
still
bullshitting
have
myself.
bouts. I still have bouts of fear, you know, in there, but you know,
Yeah,
I've
they
gotten
creep
better
in.
at
Yeah.
transmuting that, and also just using my intuition and just researching things. And then even like, especially if you research some stuff, and that kind of even helps your intuition kind of see
Mhm.
behind the veil a little bit as well.
Mhm.
So I think that's part of the key too.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm being asked, like, you know, that PMA thing, I'm being asked to do things that are absolutely terrifying. The PMA thing is terrifying. So I'm being
Yeah,
asked
right.
Explain
do
that
it.
to me.
I have to do it because where I work for Dr. Kaufman, and I have to have a PMA in order to work for him, or have some, yeah, because I'm not. So basically, because you have to you have an LLC, and then you have the PMA, and then somehow or another, this is where I don't 100% understand this, but you're in a tax shelter, but you know, you could always have to go to court to defend it. And that's where that's
Sure.
where fear comes
It's
up.
a little, yeah, the fear definitely pops in there.
I
You
don't
know,
know how to do that. You know, I'm not one of those. There's people that can understand that whole law thing and
Yeah.
and talk it, and I'm not one of those people.
Me neither.
I get very like I lose my shit rapidly. Like with the cops or whatever. I mean, I've been observing this for a while. I'm sure you guys see it too. Like if the cop, if you're driving down the road and suddenly there's a cop, everyone suddenly starts going the speed limit.
yeah, because they have fear. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm scared that authority is gonna pull me over. You know,
The miniman authority.
They're armed, and I'm not. You know, because I'm not going to have a concealed carry permit because I'm not going to be on that list, you know, and so I'm not armed. And so therefore they are, and, you know, they use their weapons whenever the fuck they feel like it, and they get away with it without any, you know, without any.
They do.
Whatever it's called right now.
So when we talked the other day, Joanna, about the PMAs, I looked online. I really found very little information.
No, there's nothing. You can't find anything on there. That's why you have to go through, like, the only place to find it would be to go on Alphonse Fagiolo's channel on Telegram and do a search for it, or go to the Genoa Institute and read as much as you could read from there, because it's a private sector thing. I mean, I can send you a website that will explain the difference between the public and the private. That's pretty user friendly. But that is why it's terrifying to me, because I have no one really to talk to about it. I just have to go with it. I have to do it without being able to, because it's been used for so long by them. And so they've kept it secret.
Yep, they occulted it.
They have occulted it. So, but I mean, because right now with my job, I'm being paid in a way that eventually the IRS is going to come after me.
Going to find you out. Yeah.
And so I have to do it, but it's scary, you know? I mean, it's really, really scary. So it's scary just because, you know, for that reason, there's no information, there's no one to talk to. And
yeah,
you know, it's just, so in that way, you know, I can sit here and just shiver in my boots in terror. And then I'm thinking, you know, I pray a lot. So I said, you know, I pray, and I think I pray, and I get this intuitive thought, like, well, what if it does work? And then all the fear leaves my body right then. And then I talk to my other friends and stuff, and they're like, usually when you have this much fear, it usually means that whatever it is really good, because they don't want you to know this stuff. Because then if everybody was willing to walk through this fear, they would have nothing. You know,
No,
it's
you're right.
fear.
They would have nothing.
People don't like, they just can't stand this feeling that I'm currently, going through with this. And so they just don't pursue it if it brings up this much fear. You know what I mean?
Right. We need a model, or we need a teacher or somebody who is all tuned up on it, knows how to do it, has been doing it. And
there are those people, but
are there
they're
anybody in Colorado?
Oh, no, they're not in Colorado.
See?
It's going to be me. That's who it's going to be.
All right. So you'll be it. Okay.
But I'm in the trial by fire part right now, where, I go in and out of terror over it. But shoot, I just made such a nice one and it fell in the garbage. Oh, here we go. But yeah, that's what I feel like is what I would say people in general feel this type of fear all the time.
I agree.
About stupid shit, and this is what we've been conditioned to do, is to distract ourselves with, consumer products. And because like, if you spent the time to learn how to be an artist or something like that, you'd actually have to feel that. You'd have to feel something.
Mhm.
You can't just avoid feeling anything, when you have to learn something. So, but if you flip on Netflix, then you can just put it aside for that 2 hours.
Absolutely.
And so that's the behavior that leads to slavery.
So can you call yourself an artist if you only make art in your head?
I don't know. I don't know. What do you mean?
Is a slave if the slave doesn't think it's a slave?
Well, I think, isn't that one of those things that said, there's a thing that says that there's like a one of the quotes that says, let them think they're free. And as long as they think they're free, then we're fine or something.
We're fine. Yep. We'll just keep getting away with it. Yeah.
I think that's something that one of the Nazis said or something. And then there's that book, right, by that's called They Thought They Were Free, and it's about Nazi Germany. It's that journalist who was writing about as they descended into the Third Reich, and the title of the book is They Thought They Were Free. And that's where we are. I don't think that, I don't know that we're still, I don't know if everybody's still, every time we have a 4th of July celebration, I have to ask myself, do people really think that we're free? Were we really celebrating being free here?
I think it's become something else. For most people, it's fireworks.
Yeah, it's fireworks. Yeah. Right.
Hot dogs and barbecue.
Yeah. So.
Years ago, Fort Lewis College is up on the hill above the town of Durango, and that's the best place to see the fireworks, which are kind of across the lower valley and up by where the cemetery is. And I was on my motorcycle. And I just kind of went through there really quietly, and I just saw all these people with their fucking cell phones up there, just recording the fireworks.
No way.
There was hundreds of people. It was just crazy. They're all glowing, It's like, fuck.
Wow. You can't record fireworks on your phone.
Yeah, you can. I've got some good shots.
Oh my God, that's insane though. Like, rather than actually just experiencing that.
Yeah, they're looking.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's very weird what we're in right now. It's weird. It's just a really
full-on idiocracy.
Idiocracy. I watched that movie.
That's a good one.
Oh yeah, that one is that. not only, it's just, that was pretty scary, actually, I thought, because it was like predictive, I thought, when I saw, I just thought because someone and from my job mentioned it the other day, and it's free on archives, .org, the Wayback Machine.
Yeah.
And I watched it and I was like, oh no, this is really happening right now. We're pretty close to this right now.
Pretty close.
It's horrifying. It was pretty awful, actually. I thought it was pretty horrible. It was scary.
So Fox movie, whatever, they put it out, but they had a contract with who was the director and the writer? He's a Texan. Was he a Family Guy?
Michael someone.
I can't remember his name. It don't matter.
Yeah.
But apparently, once it was released, the Fox was supposed to put it out within a year, and they shelved it for almost a year, and then they put it out with absolutely no publicity. They just tried to quiet it and make it go away because it was a little too truthful.
Well, so then it wasn't predictive programming because it was 2015 or something, right?
I was way before that.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
I think it's probably it could have been earlier than that.
I mean, I kind of felt like it was
That's 2006.
Oh, 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
Mike Judd is the
Mike Judd,
director,
Mike Judge.
and he was also
Yeah.
he's the one that created Beavis and Butthead, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes, he knows what's going on. I mean, maybe he's
He
just
knows what's
smart,
going on,
but
for
he
sure.
also might be, like, what's his name? Chris, X-File guy, where he's being fed shit,
And King of the Hill.
Yeah.
King of the Hill. I don't even know what that is.
King of the Hill. Yep.
That was a Fox show. It's like
That
a
conspiracy guy.
Texas family, like redneck Texas family, basically.
Yeah, see, what I don't understand is why these, I guess Mark talks about this, like why that they don't end up paying the natural law consequence, but that's because they get
it's because of what you guys were talking about earlier, the partly, and that's the willing slave. Their whole satanic religion's based on their slaves being willing, and there's like tons of symbolism where it shows like the Baphomet, devil, and then it has the slave below, but the shackles are unlocked on the chains, and that's a symbolic of them being willing. So they trick you into giving up your rights by feeding you with fear. So then you give up something, you give up a freedom that goes underneath the authority blanket and that's another right that goes away when that happens. Because they don't want to, there's something, I think there's something with the natural law that if you it's like, if it's too forced, then it's too obvious. But if it's kind of like manipulative and stuff, I mean, there's the consequence is the authority itself almost, because even if you're like an elite, you're still scared. That's why they live in gated communities.
Absolutely. I think I know a lot of people that want to be free from freedom. They can't handle it. They don't have the tools. So
it's not necessarily safe.
It's
not necessarily safe.
Well, yes.
Right, because
I found for myself is that I have to rely on unseen forces. I can't rely on my own mind. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to rely on their mind. But even then, they don't want to rely on critical thinking. They'd rather rely on fight or flight mind.
Yep.
Than on
the hive mind.
Yeah. Than on you know, high, I'm up against this right now, so I can speak to it, it's just really difficult to just trust that everything's okay. In fact, trust that everything is great, really. When you see it as not, when you don't see that in the world, and you have to bring it into being, and it's just really difficult. So you have to, at least I do, I have to try to, find that silence within. But it's a long journey to get there. I mean, I pretty much know, because didn't all of us go through some kind of like worldview shift, that where you had to like
God.
go lay down?
Yeah, I was,
huh?
my process or transmutation was, I started to see it for what it was. And then I was really angry because I had discovered that I'd been lied to my whole life. And then I started thinking like, holy shit, these people have a lot of power. And then I was fearful. I was fearful for, really, really fearful for about a year. And then I just kept working through it. And then I got away from it. And then I kind of haven't really been fearful since, at least fear from whoever they are in their program.
Right.
I think that's the process of waking up.
But you see, a lot of people, like
sure.
my family, they don't want to go through that. They would have to give up so much
Yes.
of what they believe to it would be a huge ego deflation process, which they don't want to have. They don't want to have that. They would have to give up so much mentally. And, so
and they
rather
just
die.
don't, they're not strong enough, basically.
They'd rather die and kill their children than face the fact that they've been wrong this whole time, I think. So
What's the price to pay? I mean, it's that's where the fear comes from.
Where?
From the unknown.
Oh yeah, the unknown for sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But I mean, I remember like hearing this a long time ago, maybe like in 2012 or something, that there was going to come a time when you were going to have to choose one way or the other. And we're here. We are here.
We are here. We are here. Yep.
We are here.
So have y'all, have you woken anybody up?
Have I woken anybody? I mean,
I can say, oh, go ahead, Joanne, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I can say I've planted seeds in people that may have led them in the right direction. And the reason I say that is, this is probably like 5 or 6 years ago. I was getting into this stuff and I was telling my friends all about this. Like, I'm like, oh, like occult information. And and they were like, has he gone crazy? Is he a little cuckoo, And then like one of my friends, I just talked to her the other day. She was over at the house and she was like, she commented to me, she's like, yeah, about 5 or 6 years ago, I thought you were kind of cuckoo when you were talking about the occult stuff and like conspiracy stuff and just like natural law and all that stuff. And she, but then she's like, now I completely believe you when you talk about that stuff. And and so I know that part of it was just her kind of going and doing her own research, but I definitely planted the seeds to get her, to start questioning things at least. Right. Me and other people. I'm not the only one that planted seeds there, I'm sure, but.
Right. Yeah, I've been trying to do it. I think I've lost friends in Durango because of it.
But that can happen because they go into that cognitive dissidence, and then they're like, "Oh my God, like I can't believe that guy's like thinking about this stuff or whatever." That's sad.
For me, I have a group of people that I've been hanging out with for many years, and all of the people in that group are not jabbed and are still, relatively free. So that's, I mean, because we were all studying some spiritual stuff together, and we have always been like on the same path. But when it came to this, we're still all together on it. You know what I mean? But in terms of like, I lost a friend that I had for 30 years over the masks. That was about 2 years ago. Like, yeah, she and I haven't spoken. I used to live in New York, that's where I came from. And I had known her for 30 years in New York, and we would talk like almost every week. We would talk at length until this happened. And now we're not friends anymore. And then this other friend of mine from New York too, I'm not friends with him. He's totally bought into it. He lives in Long Island. So yeah, no. I mean, I don't know if I don't really know if I've actually. And that's the other thing. Like, I mean, like doing art, this is why I think I was in artist block mode, was because I was like, how in the hell can I actually make art that's gonna, have any effect on this,
Yeah.
And so I just kind of stopped because I felt like it was kind of a waste of time. But now it's like, I don't even care if the art, if this particular group of pieces just helps the people that are already awake, just to fortify themselves, give spiritual pause, because it's so hard to be in this battle,
Yes.
and need as much help as you can get. So I've kind of given up on talking to the indoctrinated. I mean,
Yeah,
actually, go ahead.
I pick them judiciously, I'm not going to waste my time on people that, they're just going to waste your time. Like,
Right.
I've noticed too, you can't give people too much too quick. Like, you kind of just have to give them little nuggets,
I agree.
and then they can process that for a little bit. Maybe they start questioning something within their, worldview within their minds, but like, if you just go, then like, just vomit everything on them, at once, you're gonna black pill them.
You're gonna repel them for sure.
Yeah, you're gonna repel them.
Yep.
If not black pill them, and that might even be enough to traumatize them from getting into the information to begin with. And even
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that, that the truth show is going to, work on some people, because
for sure.
Because even the normal of the normiest, they can see that things are, not so good.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, for myself, like when I'm my inalienable rights, right? I mean, it's taken me a long time. It took me a long time to believe that was true. I mean, I was coming from deep programming. What do you mean I have inalienable rights? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, most people don't even know what a right is to begin with. So.
Well, I didn't know either until I listened to all of Mark's work. I didn't know. Where are you going to learn this shit? You don't learn it in school. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it before you go to school, and then school confuses it out of you through
That's
competition with other students.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, maybe so.
So next time, is this you do this on Mondays?
Yeah.
Every Monday, yeah. Unless something happens and we decide not to.
We have a group that meets in the big gallery, and it's called SCAPE. Spontaneous combustion, what?
Spontaneous combustion arts, improvisational arts performance ensemble.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's Bob Marsh.
Right.
He is the leader of our pack.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
He's our anarchist leader, he just said.
Good.
Yeah, so, but we only meet every other week,
First and third Monday.
first and third. So I'll be able to hang with you guys on those other days, or I'll just have to, because we get together at 6, so people are starting to come in.
Oh,
But-
good. Well, I'd love to have you and you know, come and do art with us.
Yeah,
Fun.
next time, I've been sketching on my pad, but
Oh,
next
cool.
time I'll set up something in my studio so I can work in there.
Yeah, and you can invite other people too if you want, you know.
Okay. Okay.
That's the idea. The idea of this is to get like a big discussion with a bunch of people collaborating together, because it feels like that the energy we have might be helpful to others.
Mm-hmm.
So
For sure.
Good. Thanks, guys, for inviting me. And
you're welcome. Have a great night.
Right. You too. We'll be talking soon.
Sounds good.
Sounds
All
great,
right.
Jeff. Good to
Okay.
see you.
Bye, Woody.
Uh-huh.
Bye.
That was magnificent. Our guest, Jeff, came on to talk with us a little bit. We are going to be doing a art show at his gallery in Pueblo, Blowback Gallery. So they have a website. You can go on there and check them out. The show is going to be the month of July, 2022. Yeah, so what a blessing, and to have him on with us tonight, and super grateful that he was able to carve out some time to speak with us. Thank you, Joanna, for reaching out to him and letting him know about what we're doing and stuff. Really appreciate that.
Oh, good. Yeah, that was
That was a lot of fun.
have a new person on there to talk about stuff,
Yeah.
especially because we're making art for his show right now.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I know you're not looking at your phone, so you probably don't see what I'm doing.
Well, actually, I realized I can go on my computer and I can join on my computer, right? And if I mute,
Yeah,
I
you
can.
just mute your volume and your mic, and you should be good. Yep. Smaller push for that. Yeah, so again, too, if anyone's watching and then wants to stay up to date with what we're doing, you can always subscribe below this video. If you're joining us via YouTube, please subscribe and you'll get notifications about when we're going to be going live and different stuff like that. So make sure you
Wait a minute, what's going on here?
hit that subscribe button. You're good. It looks like you're on here a second time. I see
Yeah, but
your
it's saying
face.
it wants me to. Oh, I see what it's doing. Hold on. I'm gonna get rid of this headphone and then I'm gonna mute myself because it's not. I'm gonna join audio for a second, so this might be a problem, and then I'm gonna.
No worries.
mute. Okay, good. What the hell was that? How's that? No, why am I? Ouch. I don't know.
I'll try to mute.
What? Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah, you need to mute the mic on either your computer or your phone. Probably the computer is better. Whatever's further away from you.
I don't think that's gonna work.
No worries.
I don't know.
Don't worry about
That- I don't get that because that's my computer, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's just you'll get feedback if you have two mics and speakers.
Well,
going at the
even
same time.
when I muted it, it still did that. So I don't know why.
That's weird.
I
Sometimes
totally-
it echoes and it may have just not settled down yet too. No big deal. I basically have a figure here with the hands like up in the air, like they're like free, like, and then inside the head, I have the heart-shaped brain and wearing a crown to represent, they're coming from a place of love and they're master of their own internal domain. So that means they have self-control and self-governedness. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes sense, but it sure is difficult. I'll tell you. I'm not
Oh
gonna
no, it's
easy.
and that's, it's kind of like that Buddhist mindfulness kind of idea. It's like you have to be mindful of your actions, right? But it's not always easy, stuff happens, your emotions get flowing, and you could really lose sight of your principles when that happens. It's easy to and part of the problem too, I've noticed, is just like, you never know when you're going to get triggered. And once you're triggered, it's hard to come out of that state of anger or,
Yeah, fight or flight.
whatever fear, whatever it is, it's just like that trigger. And you always tell yourself when you're not triggered, you're like, oh, like next time I get triggered, I just need to tell myself to calm down. Well, a lot easier said when you're not in the emotional moment than when you are.
Well, it has to do with being stuck in the amygdala part of your brain. So it's not that easy to, when you're in that state, you can't really get out of it because you're actually in that part of your brain. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to, get up in the frontal lobe. Okay.
Well, you can, it takes a little more effort, depending on how, and just like Jeff said, the trick is catching it early. If you catch yourself starting to get angry about something and you recognize that soon enough, then it's a lot easier to calm down and just be like, all right, I'm getting triggered here. I need to just keep my cool or whatever, But the longer you keep that emotion going, the harder it is to transmute back into that state of being calm and collected,
Yeah, I don't know. I probably have to meditate longer now. I have to extend my meditation practice, which it's pretty difficult to try to carve out that space and time to do that. But that's kind of
I can relate. I can totally relate to that.
So.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, meditation, prayer. But yeah, once I'm in there, man, forget it. And I basically have had to lately just to say, no, I can't go to this place or this place. Because it's like, I get triggered when I go there and I'm going to behave badly. So it's just better if I stay away right now.
Yeah.
Because it's just not worth it. So that's pretty pathetic. But I mean, I got to say, this whole thing that we're going through right now it's just like, it's very stressful. I don't know how, I feel like I've been stressed out for a really long time from this whole process.
Which process? Just everything that's going on in the world?
Yeah, everything that's going on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, it is. And luckily there's been, at least here in Jefferson County, there was some good news a week or two ago. Maybe it has been now.
Oh, what, you got your mask mandate taken away?
Yeah. No more masks.
For now.
And the great thing is the last time they took away the masks, everyone in public schools still had to wear them. But now kids at school don't have to wear them anymore. Neither did the teachers. So that is.
Well, I hope that goes on.
That's moving in the right direction. Let's hope it stays like that.
Yeah, let's hope. I just I just don't understand what caused that. What was the source?
The county said that we don't need it anymore.
Why?
Because something with the fake numbers went down enough to justify doing that.
Yeah, that's scary though. That's, to me, it's a nice little bit of relief, but it's like, it's fucked up because, then they can just jerk up the numbers and tell you all to put your mask back on.
Well, they did it once, so hopefully they don't do it again.
Right. I don't know. I mean, hopefully if they do it again, people say, fuck you.
Well,
But
I didn't.
don't,
I pretty much did the whole time the second round that they implemented that.
right.
I was,
know.
I was the young man walking around the grocery store getting bad looks from people.
I know. Me too.
And then I would just, my technique would just be, I would just smile really big. Because that way, like that probably actually made them feel good, because they're like, oh wait, why is he so happy? Because I'm not
that's kind of what
bagging my face.
I mean, that's, I did myself learn how to not fall into it the second time, but I just don't. I mean, I don't think it was the problem has been solved yet, particularly.
Me and my daughter even inspired another person to take theirs off. We were waiting in line to get these Starbucks gift cards at the Starbucks in the grocery store. And this lady was waiting in line too, ahead of us. And she was like, do I need this? And I was just like, I don't know. I basically just shrugged my shoulders and said, like, I don't really see a reason for it. And then she took her mask off. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I had like a moment of peace today about everything. And that's when I realized, like, I think, yeah, that everything, like, I just have to follow what I feel. But see, the problem is when you're in fear, you can't feel your heart instruction that well. That's been my experience anyway.
That's hard, yeah, because you got your fear, brain cloudedness is overwhelming that heart mind connection with that fear, emotion. So it's, putting you in that fight or flight state where, yeah, you're definitely not connecting to your intuition.
So it's hard
when that's going on, or it's harder to
myself. Like, I'm like a person who uses my intuition all the time. And for the people who don't, like, this has got to be just so impossible to do. It's just got to be really difficult. But the one thing I was going to say before we hope I forgot to say was that was why I joined autonomy, really, was because I was afraid that I would succumb to the groupthink. And if I didn't get a big crowd of people around me that I could talk to, because I knew, I mean, it's overwhelming. I think a lot of people, like, I know somebody in California who's a friend of mine, who, like, didn't get involved in the freedom community at all. And she, like, she would talk to me now and then and say, I still haven't gotten it, blah, blah, blah. And then one day she just went and got it. Because, and it was the peer pressure, she was getting tested every week and she didn't have the community strength, and I just
she did have community strength, but was on the other polarized side of things.
Yeah. The strength,
which
telling her to do it. Yep.
Not necessarily a good thing. And I was, you heard me telling you stories about me being pressured in that direction as well,
Oh,
I remember when, like, my mom was, like, pressuring me to get and stuff,
right.
and, like,
they gave up on that, huh?
She seemed to have given up on that.
Oh, that's good. That's
luckily,
nice.
So
She's not trying to manipulate you or anything. She never mentioned it to me. That's really nice, right?
Yeah, she's not gonna she wouldn't do that. She's too, like, just nice of a person.
Well, I know, but I was right there in the house, like,
Yeah, but I mean,
but that's amazing. That's amazing.
I think she kind of gets the side of it that, if you have it, then why are you scared of people that don't have it, kind of thing. She gets that,
Yeah, that is pretty funky. such a manipulation technique. I mean, you could just hear those motherfuckers laughing, right? When they came up with that at the Tavistock Institute or wherever they came up with that idea.
Mhm.
Well, you could just hear them, you know. Remember when Mark posted that laughing thing?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what
Or
it
like
is.
he does that. I like it when he does his vomit puppet.
Yeah,
The vomit puppet. I like that one a lot.
yeah, that was pretty funny. But yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, but even on the side of not on that subject, I mean, you know, on the whole morality thing, you know, it's like to reach this state or desire, you know, pretty much all humans desire a state where they have, you know, freedom, but they just don't understand the conditions that need to be met are occulted. So people are confused as to how to get to that state, you know.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of people
And it's responsible. Some people don't want to have the level of responsibility that it would take to be in that state. You know, because
Right,
people don't want self-responsibility. They want things done for them, you know?
well, what I'm saying is that they can find it by going behind the back of the authority. They can find the freedom through dishonesty. And they would rather do that than stand up for the actual freedom. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, they're like, well, if I can become one of them, then I'll be free, kind of thing. Yeah. Versus I need to just stand up and so everyone can be free. You know. But it's
Well,
not
I mean,
easy.
what I mean by that is it's easier.
There's a lot of fear there.
It's easier to say yes. I'll stand up for, or no. I'm going to do what you say, and then go behind the back of the people and not do it.
Yeah.
Lie.
Oh yeah.
It's easier to lie.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But then you're going to pay. See, then you pay the universal consequence of being dishonest.
For sure.
That's not a fun thing to have to pay for.
Definitely not. Oh.
So, yeah, you can't win, and you can't really win in this battle unless you just stand up for freedom and walk your way through it. And it's just some days are better than others. Is all I can say. Some days.
No, for sure. And I think part of it is too, like just that whole idea of leading by example. If you can, you know, if there's a situation that happens and you can be an example for doing a right, you know, acting on a right, you know, then like that, you know, other people can catch on to that and recognize that as like, oh, whoa, like, you know, maybe I should have helped with that, or, you know, maybe I should have been more conscious of that other person, more empathetic in that situation, or, you know, however that might play out depending on the situation, you know. There's a lot of people, they're afraid of being judged, so they're not going to be bold and do that thing that might seem a little against the grain.
Well, believe me, I have had it all. I've experienced all of this, and I am continuing to experience it, actually. Believe me. I mean, I don't like being judged. I like people. I like to get along with everybody. I like everybody to like me.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm really one of those people. But
a lot of people are like that, you know.
Yeah, I'm really like that, but it's just too bad right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can kind of suck,
Definitely.
you know. Wait a minute, I guess figure out what I'm doing here.
But I think getting to this state of like love and self-governedness is like really important, because that's what's really gonna, you know, help us get out of this mess we're in. And it's not just self-sufficiency, it's like having people that are self-governed enough that they're not going to harm others, you know, that are teaming up with other people and communities of collaboration and, you know, contribution with each other. And that could be like a really cool world to live in if we had something like that, you know.
Oh yeah, I don't know, man. We're pretty far from there, I think. I don't know.
Yes, I think I would agree with that. Being pretty far from there, yes.
I mean, I'm like,
that's definitely yeah, no, for sure.
I mean, you know, I just watched Kaufman go to Acapulco and everybody was all happy and lucky and la 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 and Acapulco and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I just am experiencing this like right here in Longmont. Like we have like this one chick that I had this whole situation with. Like she's my friend, right? But like she is an asshole, right? She's a total, she's a total asshole. And the personality situation, like trying to deal with the personalities of people. I mean, I've heard about it in Acapulco. They just, people just don't know how to get along with each other to be able to work together. And like with this person, like I just basically have to just, she's very smart. This is that same woman that I told you about, but she's very difficult, and but she's very smart and she knows a lot of stuff. And she has all these gifts. And so we pretty much have to just tolerate her really bad behavior. And because, she really can help us with the project, you know what I mean? Without her, we would really have to do a lot more work. It would take a lot longer. We'd have to go by trial and error and stuff like that. And she's part of the community too, so.
Yeah.
But
so like, she has a voice, you can't completely.
She's just basically running everybody over with her will, and so kind of like she's like a tyrant, right? A mini tyrant. But at the same time, we still have to work with these people. We can't just say, well, you're too much of a tyrant, so I'm gonna wait.
Yeah, we can't just like banish these people to like some desert island. We have to figure out a way to be tolerant and take them out of their cognitive dissonance and ego traps, so that they can come to the understanding that, oh shoot, I want to help, but I'm actually causing problems by having these ego tendencies and stuff.
There's no way to talk to her. There's no way to talk to her. You either, I suspect people will start talking to her behind her back soon. And he talks to, she and I are supposedly really good friends, but we are really good friends, but I can only take her like in very small doses. And Kurt hates her guts, unfortunately. Now that's the most recent evolution of the whole thing. So that's really putting a damper on it for me, because, but again, it's like I've been in these groups and I've always had to deal with people like this, and it's up to the other people to stand up equally to them, but what people generally do is they just, I don't know. I'm doing it too, pretty much, probably. It's pretty impossible to deal with, but it's like, I don't know. It's hard. It's really, really hard. That's all I can say. But I think
Well,
people
it's
are
tricky.
doing their tendency. What people do is they yes other people, and then they just back away. They either just stop being involved with the project or whatever because they don't want to deal with her, or they go along with it. Different people can handle it and others can't.
Right, for sure.
But it's just like, wow, like, out of the frying pan and into the fire, man.
Right.
Like there's no easy solution to any of this stuff. I mean, and I can see why, like, people would just prefer to have laws that took care of it. So they, like man-made laws, so that they wouldn't
Right.
have to deal with people like this, because they end up having to deal with themselves,
Right.
self-included. I mean, I have to watch her. She treats other people really badly. She treats her husband really badly in public. It's horrible to watch. And, he just takes it, and it's just really,
Mhm.
but she's a really strong member of the community with the food co-op. And, it's just really hard. It's hard. There's hard work to be done here. This is not there's no easy way out of any of this stuff. And I don't even know what the answer would be. I think the answer is going to come as a result of the experience. I don't know that there is an answer right now,
Mhm.
that I think this is a large part of why people like opted out of choosing their own freedom, because when you're free, you have to deal with stuff like this. You have to make decisions. You have to say, well, I'm going to try to get along with this person or whatever.
Well, part of it is there's like then a level of acceptance too, but there's also a level of, self-defense. And, sometimes with people like that, it's not easy to do, but you have to use questions and break them down into their cognitive dissonances, which will probably shut them down, and it may make them dislike you. But sometimes it has to be done,
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. I think it's funny because she said to me in the past that she's had all this trouble everywhere. They've lived in a few different places and she has all this trouble. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, guess who the common denominator is in all this trouble you've been having. But I don't say anything because,
well, you don't want to piss her off maybe, or whatever that is,
off because she knows how to do what we're doing.
Or the same time, it's like, if she's listing these problems, it's like, might be harsh to just throw it right back in her face. Like, your problems follow you wherever you go.
She's not open to hearing anything about herself.
You don't move away from your problems, and I have a friend that's done that multiple times or tried that multiple times, and it's never worked for him. And that the problems just follow him wherever he goes. And it's like, well, you're reflecting that back on yourself.
This
Yeah,
is
it is. Yeah.
Natural law governing human behavior,
Yeah, you act in certain ways, and it's cause and effect, and your actions produce different states.
So the thing is that there's no easy answer to this. I mean, I can see why people would rather, watch TV and be governed than have to deal with these very difficult situations.
And I think part of the problem is just like everyone's filtering reality through different belief filters, And so that's what that's causing different fears and stuff within their minds. And one of the big issues is people just don't listen good enough. And even if they do listen good enough, people are just way too defensive about stuff. Like, it's almost like people would rather just defend themselves so they can win the conversation allegedly, versus actually really critically thinking about something and then like not really having that egotistical side of the conversation, like, oh, I have to win this conversation. It's more just like, oh, I need to have a naive approach to where I can let the information in, and then I need time to analyze it so I can actually come back with a an argument that's actually based in knowledge and insightfulness, rather than just getting all defensive, which a lot of people just, and I notice that a lot when I like get into arguments or whatever with my wife. It's just like she just goes into this defense mode thing. I'm just like, dang, like I can't even get a point across because they're too busy defending themselves.
Oh yeah, no,
And I may not even be accusing them of anything either, and there may be no accusation, but they're still on the defense about their stance on whatever it is.
Oh yeah, no, I believe me, I've had this has been a few days of hell for me with that very situation and the PMA thing. I've just it's been hell, like stress after stress after stress with.
Yeah, I have started watching those videos for the PMA stuff. So.
Oh, really?
I'm learning, yeah. It was interesting I almost brought this up later when Jeff was asking you about it, but it's interesting that he's mentioned in one of them that the NFL is actually a PMA.
Yeah.
The National Football League.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like pretty interesting. I was like, whoa, okay, that makes sense in some ways, or actually in a lot of ways.
Why?
Well, it takes the injury liability away from, and in some ways away from the organization, when the players get injured, because that's part of the contractual agreement of being a player is it's a dangerous sport and you might be injured. And, it's kind of like how the PMA, the rules of the game are like the bylaws of the PMA in some ways, That makes sense.
Do you think that's what that is their thing? Do you think they have, you haven't seen their membership agreement, have you?
No, I don't know. I'm just based off of what he said that is a PMA. I haven't like gone in and dig into the NFL
But I guess that's why they haven't been sued. Is that what you're saying? Well, that's why they wouldn't be sued. They can't be sued because they're a PMA. That's one thing.
Well, they can be sued for certain things probably, but they're protected. They're protected in the sense that they're a PMA because they can have their own jurisdiction of rules and laws, which may not correspond with all the rules and laws outside of being part of that organization.
Right, but they can't be sued unless they're in the public. They can't be sued in the public unless they're involved in nefarious acts.
Right.
People. Which this is where I don't understand. I'm like, well, what about the Rockefeller Foundation or the substantive of evil of the pedophiles? Like why how is that outside of but I just figure that this is them. They can do whatever the hell they want, which is why I get fearful. It's like, well, if they can do whatever the hell they want, why can't they just tell me I can't have a PMA? Like, you know what I mean? That's where I get into this whole like, can I really?
The thing is the PMA may have some legal protection, but there's it's not going to protect you from if they really get bad, if it really gets to piss them off enough, they don't need the law to stop whatever it is they want from happening. that's when things start to get really dark and people start to lose their lives.
Right.
Don't like to talk about that side of things, but it's a real thing that's out
Yeah,
there.
really, and it could really, it's probably a part of where we're headed.
And people, that's part of the fear factor, that why people don't want to stand up for stuff, because they know that there's these psychopaths out there that are just gonna force, by using force and taking lives, get the agenda that they want.
Right.
And that's historically been recorded through, like, there's a lot of the wars in America's early history were trying to keep the banking cartels out of this country. But they threaten, they're like, no, we'll keep attacking you, war after war after war, until you guys let our banking in here.
Right. And now they're in.
Yeah.
And this is where we're at.
Yeah. So it's like, and I was actually just thinking about this last night. I was like, my daughter asked me, what's a president? And I was like, oh, that's like a leader of a government entity, and she was like, oh, I don't think she really fully understood what I meant there, but then I started thinking, because my wife was like, oh, the dollar bill has, a lot of money has presidents on it, pictures of the presidents on there, and like George Washington's on the dollar bill or whatever. And then I was thinking that might actually be an insult to George Washington to begin with, because I believe firmly that one of the things that the people that came over here from Europe were trying to escape were those banking cartels. And so to put that president on they're feeding it to us as like as a symbol of respect for him. Like, he's so respected that we're going to put him on our currency, but maybe he was against currency altogether, and he wanted more of like a community situation where people collaborate and share with each other versus, this control system of money that, basically has been forced upon humanity with the use of armies and order following thugs.
Well, I'm not really sure George Washington was on the side of freedom, though.
Yeah, I don't know either, but that notion came into my mind because these,
I mean, I think he
may not have been as enlightened as I think he was.
There was a thing that happened right as they were signing the Declaration of Independence. They were sold out to the Bavarian Illuminati by possibly George Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know what the deal is.
That's
really
too hard to know because of the history. We don't know if the history that's been written about that stuff is even accurate,
Right. So there's no way to tell. I mean, but I think that it was, the timing was almost like right as they were signing the Declaration of Independence, they were already, that's when the same exact day almost was the formation of the Illuminati, the Bavarian Illuminati,
Mm-hmm.
or something. I remember hearing this in on one of the podcasts. Somebody called in and they talked about it. I don't remember. It was like which one or whatever. I'd have to listen to them all again to find out. But yeah, it's
Right.
just I don't know, man. It's like hard to say. But I mean, clearly they were naive because they still believed that you needed some form of government.
Mm-hmm.
So that's naive because government is slavery.
Right.
And so they basically, I mean, there's so many possibilities. Like the whole thing could have been a total psyop. They could have just wanted to come out here claim this land that belonged to the Native Americans. Just like what they just did with that Tonga island.
Oh yeah,
You hear about
that's
that?
definitely a theory for sure, or a heavy possibility.
that island, they just wanted that property and they wanted to get all those people jabbed. So they bombed the island, and they volcano. But there was footage of a bomb.
Yeah.
I saw, and
Right. Yeah.
my partner here thought, he was like, oh, this is a volcano, he's telling me. And I'm like, really? That's a volcano? Oh, wow. Interesting that this island has no inhabitants who have COVID-19. And now they are going to all get jabbed and integrated into, whatever, New Zealand or whatever. How interesting. You know what I mean?
I saw a funny meme a while ago, and it was like an Amish guy, and he's like, "We don't have COVID because we don't have TV."
Oh my, I know, exactly. It's just like, I totally get that. I mean, most of the people around here believe in COVID, right? That I run into, they all believe in it. A lot of people. So I just keep my mouth shut most of the time, and I was on the phone with somebody, this Russian lady who showed up at the ham radio class, and she's an herbalist, and she said, oh, I have this preparation that I'll send you the recipe for in case you get it. And I said, well, I don't believe in it. So she's like, oh, it definitely exists. And I'm just like, okay, whatever.
Well, here's the thing. There's definitely sicknesses out there, right?
Yeah.
It's just what are they? It's
whatever.
Well, I had this other theory too with like numbers, and they're like, well, these more people are dying. I'm like, well, guess what? Baby boomer generation is getting really old right now and starting to die off. No wonder there's more people dying, because that's a huge jump in population that's reaching that age of where they're starting to die. So just that statistic alone, if you focus on it, could be what's driving higher death rates, if there really are higher death rates.
Yeah. Right.
Just the fact that that's a generation that's a large one,
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, it's just so interesting, but I mean, I don't want to get way off the topic and onto this crazy topic, but this topic is not this topic. See, this is the topic that no one is ever going to agree on this fully, but yet we have to work together whether we agree on it or not.
Well, the topic, actually, the answer is easy. It's all about everyone understanding objective morality. Because if you understand objective morality, then you understand right versus wrong. Right being an action that doesn't harm others, wrong being an action that does harm others. And so if we want the desired state of freedom, the requirement to have that desired state is understanding morality and then actually living to those objectively moral principles, But yeah, that's a simple notion, but that's not easy to get to. And because right now we have so much subjective morality going on. Like, you can drive across the invisible line into another state or country, and all of a sudden you have a whole new set of moral laws. If it were, they're not really moral laws because they're man-made laws, but it's, and that moral relativism, because laws are basically just like things that are put in place to enforce morality to a certain extent or protect, that's what's messed up about man-made laws. Some of them are actually against right morality, you know, and they're there to protect really powerful, rich entity, you know. So it's there's a lot of confusion. People don't really know, and people think their rights come from the government too, you know. Oh, it's something that the government get the rights, you know. Oh, it's a thing the government gives us. No, you're born with rights. Has nothing to do with government. So yeah.
Right,
There's
exactly.
a lot of confusion out there as to what is right and wrong. And then people justify this subjectiveness to morality, which it really isn't subjective. You know, it's like, oh, I live in Colorado, so I can recreationally partake in cannabis use. You know, you go to Texas, I'm pretty sure they don't have the recreational use of it yet. You can get CBD legally down there, but if you want to get some THC recreationally, you know, that's bad. They'll put you in a cage, you know. Or even just like the right to bear arms, you know. We're lucky in this country that we are allowed to have that right, even though not everyone is exercising it. But like, you know, there's a lot of countries, most countries in the world, you're not allowed to, as a citizen, to do that. You know, that's just for government and authority.
Yep. I know.
How is that good, you know?
Oh yeah, no, it's not good. It's not
Definitely not.
That's basically, like, I mean, that's basically why it's so amazing that those people in Canada are protesting right now, because they don't have the right to bear arms. But I mean, you know, I've heard some pretty nasty stories about them getting shot and stuff.
Yeah. And that's
But,
the use of violent force. Violence. That's the use of violent force, you know, to get people to conform. And then the other protesters that were thinking about coming out the next day are like, oh crap, like these guys just got shot. I'm definitely not going down there tomorrow, you know.
But see, that's the point though. I mean, there is a fate worse than death, and that's slavery. I mean, I have a long-term view of having to be willing to have that, you know. I'm gonna have to be willing, but then just the short-term view of these other things causes me intense fear. So it's kind of weird. Fear is weird. And how it operates. But I mean, that's basically, I just think that everybody's gonna, I don't know that there's any like blanket solution. I think everybody's just gonna have to be pressed to the wall and decide that they're gonna go up against their fear, you know?
For sure. And also just like understand that, you know, it's about them being self-governed in this state of non-fear in order to, you know, have that courage to have self-defense, you know. Or, you know, just like if literally if everyone was in a state of love and understanding and they had self control and stuff, then you know wouldn't even need self-defense. But you know, that's not, you know, we're not angels, so that's not what's happening.
Oh no. I'm sure we've been struggling with this the whole time we've been here.
Oh yeah, we have been. That's why there's like how many recorded wars, like thousands and thousands and thousands of historically recorded wars, whether all those are really true wars or not, you know, I don't know, but it's it's pretty wild. Then it always is, it seems like it stems from just disagreements on the philosophical meaning of why humans are on this planet, you know.
Oh, right, well, that,
which is
Yeah,
really
that's
unfortunate.
huh?
You know, I said, which is really unfortunate.
What do you mean?
That there's so much fractalization in the worldview across not only just this country, but even the whole planet.
Well, I'm sure that, it's never gonna be told how we got here. So you have to come to that on your own.
I don't really think it even matters how we got here.
Oh, you
What
don't?
more matters? No, doesn't matter. That's in the past, right? We're here. So we know that we're here. And so what matters is how are we going to act? How are we going to change our behavior to get to our desired state of complete freedom? And that's going to that's going to one at a time have to be an individual decision people make, not to like exploit other people anymore, which we're really, really, really far away from that happening. But the more people like us discuss these situations, the more it's going to open people's eyes to the fact that, hey, wait a minute. We do have responsibility, and we do have to be responsible in this world as far as, being mindful in our actions and how we're interacting with our fellow brothers and sisters
Well,
of
but not
this
other people,
world.
not just other people, other sentient beings, I would say.
I think, yeah, it doesn't stop at people. You're right. We have to be kind to the animals, that we share this place with too.
But I mean, that's what we were just talking. Were we talking about this tonight? Or I think we were talking about it at my job today, was that somebody was saying that they wanted to debate Mark on natural law, and Leah was saying that she thought that had to do with the animals. Like, nobody wants to give up that quote unquote dominion over the creatures.
Right. And let's say hypothetically that we had dominion over those creatures, that doesn't mean we exploit them. That means we care for them and we help them thrive and, have abundance as well, and have safe,
But just the
safety
source
within.
Where the hell does it, why do we believe that book saying that? And yet it's just like picking and choosing what you want to believe for your own convenience.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, I mean, I just don't see how that's gonna bring freedom, selective
Well, it's like eugenics, like we think we're gods over the animal kingdom, which we're not. We actually are animals ourselves, and yeah, we have differences. We have this intellectual mind where we can plan for the future and we can implement causal things to make our lives easier in the future, which animals can do the same thing. I mean, just
Right.
The fact that a bird, we're not the only ones that use technology to make our lives easier. A bird building a nest is a form of technology, to keep their eggs safe, when they lay their eggs, or even just to keep them safe from the what, some of these birds burrow into things. It's not just like a nest, like the classical nest you see sitting on the tree branch, Some of these birds, there's the mud sparrows and stuff, they burrow into the mud, and it's like a fully enclosed safe haven for them, to keep them out of, away from predators. And it's a small bird, they go through a small hole. Well, a fox isn't going to be able to fit into that hole to go down and get them, Or even if you're thinking of the traditional bird nest in the branch, it's up in a tree. Fox is might not be able to climb that tree and get to those nests, you know. And so that's a form of technology, you know, that these birds are building.
Right.
You know, insects build like technological, like a beehive is like a form of technology built by insects, you know.
Right. That almost are more advanced than us in a lot of ways.
Well, the bees, it's almost like they always call it like the hive mind, you know. And so it's like, but it's not really necessarily like they are slaves. It's the fact that they understand their purpose, you know, which is to, you know, the survival of their hive, and you know, killing depending on what kind of insect, you know, whether it's a wasp or a hornet or a bee, you know, the bees got a pretty important job, which is to help pollinate, you know, other plants. But some of that pollination can even happen without the bees, as far as like just winds blowing pollens around. But like the bees definitely help.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, there's a
And
lot.
that's also an example of mutual aid, where these bees, they're not even in the same species category as a plant, but they're helping the plants, you know.
Right. Right. That would be a good lesson for us of how we're supposed to treat them, you know.
Yeah, that's how we're supposed to treat animals, the animal kingdom. We're supposed to be helping them, you know. It's like, help me so you can help, like I help you so you can help me, kind of thing, you know. It's like if we help the animal kingdom, they help us. And that's definitely seen in like dogs, you know, used as like for protection, you know, like a dog, you know, if you had a dog in your camp and a mountain lion rolled in the middle of the night while everyone's sleeping, the dog's going to smell that thing and start warn people before it starts, you know, causing harm to any of the people sleeping in the camp, you know.
So anyway,
That's pretty
Okay.
neat, that piece you're working on. It's like the
What?
two circles, and then like you have the cool geometry, leaf, sigil things, and yeah, that's pretty cool looking. So you're kind of, it looks like you're kind of like building out the kind of relief, kind of sculpture, building up, you know, building it up, give that more texture. It's pretty neat.
yeah. Yeah, I'm actually just it's actually, you know, I used the compass that you gave me for Christmas to make the circles. They're not
nice.
quite, I think it could be like overlapping like the flower of life.
Mm-hmm.
To the, you know what I mean? It's not a vesica Pisces. And then the
Yeah, it's a little bit further spaced than the
Yeah.
Vesica
and then
Pisces.
this is a it's basically about the pods, how you know, if I have an inalienable right to have a place to lay my head, and that is discoverable in nature, you can look at a pod and how inside the pod there's a place for every seed.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I like that. They have their own little
Yeah,
hookup that they live in.
yeah, exactly. And actually this one, like I did use the flower of life basis for all the drawings, you know, for all the sigils, and so that this one worked out perfectly, because I think I've actually even seen a pod that has like a flower of life pattern inside it.
Uh-huh.
Just don't remember what it is at the moment.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So that's what this is. And one of the pods is smaller than the other, so but I actually really like them, and I didn't think I could replicate it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to use what I've got. to,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna try to make some other hanging pots, like I'm, you know, so that these aren't the only 2 pots on the line. But yeah, that's what this is about. And I mean, that's a, right there, like to just help others to find a place to live. The blessings that come from that are so incredible.
Mhm.
You know, just try to, if you help one person, if ever anybody ever wanted to make incredible blessings happen to you, help a homeless person find a place to live. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
You will be, I mean, this, I'm talking from my experience. Like I was fortunate to be able to help a homeless person find a place to live. And the the amount of blessings that got poured upon me as a result of that was incredible. That's just one way.
That's awesome. Like that's like Mother Teresa was like the master at that. You know, it's like, and people, she was judged harshly for helping people like that too. Like, why are you helping that person, that low life, you know? And it's like,
Yeah, but you just wouldn't believe, like you basically tap into like such a pile of abundance when you do that. It was incredible. So I think we were talking about that a few weeks ago, about that being a right, and then just realizing, you know, I mean, when you go downtown, I rarely try to go downtown to Denver now. It's just so it's so inhumane down there. So they have these benches. they have benches now that once you they spin, the bench seat spins, so you can't lay on it.
oh,
You can sit on.
like, so if you like try to lay on it, it'll like flip you off.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
so-
been, it's
that's
only
so
for,
crazy.
yeah, it's only for waiting for the bus. That's it. Yep. So fucked up.
Oh my god, that's so crazy. Can't even believe that in some ways, you know.
What?
I said that's almost like unbelievable in some
I know, it's truly unbelievable.
senses.
It's truly unbelievable. Yes, it is truly unbelievable, especially because this is a natural law right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's discoverable in nature. But the reason I was saying that was because like in terms of behavioral consequence, because this is such a powerful right, and there's so many people that don't have a home.
Mm-hmm.
When you get yourself into alignment with natural law and you help other people, you just place yourself in this position to receive these gifts that I could never make happen myself.
Well, because like people see that, it's almost like what I was talking about, that whole leading by example thing I was kind of saying. Because when you do that, you help this homeless person find a home. That's leading by example. You know, you're going out of your way to help someone. You know,
No, I'm talking about
get a home. You know,
power.
and
I'm not talking about leading by example, because nobody really wants to see it. They don't want to see that. I'm saying you put yourself in a sort of a light place where supernatural power comes to you. It's not leading by example. People don't.
oh, okay. Oh,
I
okay.
did not get. People were not happy. No, they did not want to know.
Right.
No. I'm saying that, I mean, all these other amazing things happened to me as a result that were just, it was natural law. It was
Mhm.
not, it was like unseen forces stuff,
Okay.
supernatural stuff. Because no, people were like, oh God, no. Because I mean, that's the thing. We've gotten into this state of, you know, extreme convenience and fear. And so we don't want to put ourselves out there like that. in that
I was
kind of way.
thinking about that too, the convenience thing. And I think that actually if we lived in fully in natural law, we would actually have more convenience than we have now.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You're
Because we would
absolutely,
have way more community. We'd have, you know, yeah,
Well,
we
we
would
just-
have way more abundance, you know, and you wouldn't have to like, everything would be shared. So you wouldn't have to like, no one would be cut off from that abundance, you know? Because
Right,
it
plus-
wouldn't be like it's in a store where you have to pay money to get it. It might be in a store, like a building where you have to go to get it, but you're not going to have to like, you know, you just go and get what you need, you know, and no
Right.
one's going to hoard stuff because everyone knows there's enough for everyone because everyone's working together
Well,
to make
yeah,
sure
but
there's
also-
enough for everyone.
because you're in alignment with natural law, you place yourself in the supernatural, what appears to be a supernatural, I don't know what to call it. It's like a space of light,
Yeah.
and you get what you need. Like whenever you need something, you get it. It just shows up. How much more convenient could it possibly be? It's
For
really,
sure.
it's amazing to be in that state, you know?
No, I agree.
But that's what, phew, being aligned, phew, excuse me, with natural law does. I mean, it's incredible. You know, it's just,
No, you're completely right about that.
it's incredible. It's almost like Hollywood in a way, like what you see in the movies. But it's not
Yeah,
like it's not like that though, because that's always sort of the easy answer, you know?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
It's just its own thing. But yeah, I mean, I think we were once a lot closer to that way of living than we are now, and we've just gotten so far away from it.
We've lost
It's
sight of that for
always
sure.
available to us. It's always
Uh-huh.
available, especially if
Oh yeah.
we get in alignment with natural law and help others, then it really becomes available to us.
Well, it's like in that aggregate too, like, you know, if you start helping these people that need the help, then it's gonna start translating, you know, into having to have less and less authority, you know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the authority, it just overpasses the authority. That power is so much bigger than the authority that it uses it sometimes, but it just blows it out of the water, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's amazing.
Well, if you get far enough polarized into the state of living in complete alignment with more objective morality, then, you know, authority becomes obsolete. Just because there's no need for it. I mean, there never really was. It's like that's kind of like a transfer of rights. It isn't really a thing in nature.
Yeah.
Burnt umber. This oil color, good. Didn't know I had this one. Bang. That cap isn't coming off.
What?
Oh, sorry, just talking to myself about my paint tube cap that's not coming off.
I'm tuned in on the live YouTube, and I can see what you're doing.
Oh, good. Yeah, oh, you got that. Oh, that's the way you could see it. Yes, on your
I
computer.
decided to see whether it was working or not. There's a
Cool.
slight.
Yeah, it's working.
Huh?
I keep checking on it every few minutes to see if it's still going. It is. And that's good that you can see that. Yeah, I'm starting to try to work on the background now. I'm thinking of trying to put some figures here that are kind of doing the same kind of thing where they're raising their arms. Like it's like almost like a big like community or a circle of people that are all free, just to kind of show that state of freedom, and that the closest person to us obviously is the one that has the, where you can see inside their head and see their brain with the crown on it, which I actually thought of something I could have added inside the brain, but these concepts are going to come up later on too, and on the narrative of what we're following with this natural law. Right now, we talked about teachability, and now we're talking about the state required for freedom or slavery. And this, because I just thought I could have on like one of the hemispheres of the heart-shaped brain, I could have put like a sword, to represent like the self-defense principle. And on the other side, I could have put the like scale, the judgment scale thing, for like the 2 pillars of enlightenment. So, but that we'll get really heavily into that subject later on.
But you could also put that in once it dries.
No, I can't. I could still do it. I'm just saying that there'll be paintings coming up in the future that are going to really be only about that aspect of things, that whole like 2 pillars of enlightenment concept. That's a little bit later on in our, once we've there's a lot of prerequisite stuff that we're going to talk about, so that you're going to understand that a lot better when we get there.
Right. Right.
So we go through, but learning, teachability is important because you need to be able to learn new things, and then but also discern whether the things you're learning are true or not. But then also, understanding the polarization between the 2 states of whether you're free or not free. Understanding that is important, part of the learning process. Just understanding that exists, and then throughout, as we keep going with our presentations here every Monday night, it's really gonna all come together eventually in the end, and you're gonna be like, oh, you're gonna understand, oh, this is why they were talking about that this week or the next week, or whenever you're tuned in. So that, yeah, another reason to subscribe if you're interested in keeping up with this narrative we're sharing here. We're trying to, be solution oriented as well with what we're doing. So, because that's an important, aspect of things, is that we're not only like kind of exposing some of the fallacies that are out there currently, we're also attempting to have philosophical solutions for these as well. Which is a very important aspect of all this stuff,
Right. Right now, I think the most important thing for me is to try to practice the simple behaviors myself, to quit looking at what everybody else is not doing and look at what I'm doing. And
yeah. What can you do?
What could I do better in my like immediate life?
Sure. No, I agree.
And so like I made a decision to when I got involved with my partner, that I was going to try super hard never to play any games or behave the way I used to behave, like in relationships and stuff, that I was gonna
Mhm.
try hard just to behave well with that person.
Right.
And it's hard. It's really difficult. It's really, really difficult.
Yeah, no,
Um,
for sure. Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it's
and
like
I
those things get triggered and it's hard to recognize that, some of these past things, that you're talking about, how we're these behaviors that you don't want to do anymore, that could affect the relationship in a negative way. It's like sometimes like those triggers happen and it's hard to like recognize that and be like, oh shoot, I'm going back to my old way of things and I need to like put that into check. Otherwise this could get messier than I want it to.
yeah, or then to just immediately apologize if I make a mistake,
Yeah.
So that's I mean, but in this case, that doesn't really help, unfortunately. But it helps me because I can recognize what's going on. But yeah, I tried really hard to just keep my tone of voice calm and not to raise my voice, which for me is pretty hard. I'm very hot-headed, and
Yeah.
The road rage thing. That's the latest thing I'm going to take on. I think is to not talk to other drivers from my car.
Yeah.
Because that actually caused a problem the other day. I was with my partner driving. I was driving and somebody pissed me off on the road, and I said something out loud, which upset him, and then he said something to me, and then by that point I wasn't even conscious of what I was saying, right? So I said something back to him,
Right.
and that's the end of it. Now we're in a fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
This all has to do with me.
Well, here's what continue. Sorry. Continue
Oh, no.
your thought.
It all has to do with like when I get behind the wheel, I'm not really paying attention. I'm not like in the meditative state anymore. I'm I've become like imperious. Like I've become like I can't kind of get into like a tyrannical state, and I assume that everybody else in cars is dumb and I'm the only smart person, and I just have to become more conscious of my behaviors when I'm in that situation, because again, and then that goes to like all the other things. Like, I mean, I've noticed that as pissed off as I get when people don't let me in, I don't let other people in either. It's some weird thing. Like I speed up too as I'm coming,
Yeah.
There's something about that. Like there's this weird thing about it would take an act of will for me to drive where I was letting people in at the entrance when they're trying to come onto the freeway or whatever.
Yeah.
It would be an act of will, because my normal state is to speed up and not let them in.
Right.
So
which is what a lot of people do. And I've always been kind of like I mean, I'm not going to say I don't ever drive aggressively, because I do, but I'm pretty, even if I go fast and kind of and pass people and stuff, I have a general like, rule of like, I like, if someone's trying to get over, I'm not going to speed up to keep them from getting over into my lane. I'm going to let them in. I'm not, I used to be more like that, but yeah, no, I'm just like gotten to the point where that's actually causing harm, when you do stuff like that. And so it's hard to do, but like one thing that helps me is like, if someone speeds by me or cuts me off, I just imagine to myself, and this probably isn't true 99% of the time, I imagine to myself that the person in that car has someone in there that's bleeding and needs to get to the hospital as soon as possible. If I imagine that, then I'm like, oh, like that's why they sped by me and cut me off. You know, it's not because they're begrudging me. It's because they have a injured person in their car, or, you know, whatever. Like, they have some sort of a crisis in their life that's causing them to do that. And if I look at it in that light, then I'm not like it. My anger like doesn't come up. But if I look at it in the light, like, oh, that guy's a jerk and he's just like a redneck with a big truck, then, you know, it's gonna affect me a lot more emotionally than it would if I'm just like, oh, that guy's probably a nice person. He's just like, there's something happening that's causing them to have to drive fast and cut people off like that. There's, you know, and so that helps me. That's a strategy I use, and that's just an imagination trick where I'm just like, yeah, like I'm just gonna pretend like these people are like in some sort of a life crisis situation, and they just need to get somewhere really fast because of that reason. And so, I don't know.
So,
Maybe it's kind of silly
I'm
way.
just using that as an example of where I can start to try to use this behavior, like where I can try to start to apply these principles in my own life where
Yeah, I totally get that. I figured it'd be constructive to have like kind of a strategy of changing your perspective as to what's causing that road rage or anger to manifest.
For me, I think it's just like I just am not conscious in the car. That's all. I just think I get in the car and I'm just not conscious. I'm not.
The other thing too is you have had a trauma not too long ago in a vehicle, so that there's a added stress and fear factor there too. That's gonna.
That is true.
When you're in fear and a little bit stressed about like whether you're going to get injured or not, it puts you on a little bit more edge. So
yeah, that's why I don't usually
that is definitely going to be an aspect of it for sure.
I don't take the freeway anymore because of that. Even though that didn't happen on the freeway, I just can't handle how fast people are going on the freeway. So I don't take it as often as I can. But because I don't like going 80 miles an hour. I really don't. But you do, but I don't. I don't like to do that, but anymore. But yeah, maybe it's the accident. That's true. It could be the accident, but because I think there is something that happens as you get older. Like at least for me, I definitely have gotten more fearful behind the wheel as I get older.
For sure, no, I could definitely see that.
I don't know what's up with that, but it's just some weird thing. But yeah, that's just a place where I can attempt to start to like I said, there's these two places. One is where I try to keep my tone of voice low with and I try not to play games or be sarcastic with him. And then the other place is on the road. These are some. So to just try to start to apply some of these ideas to simple, everyday.
Yeah. Well, and what's great about what you're doing here is you're talking about situations where you've consciously realized these are times when you get triggered, right? And so just the fact that you've consciously are aware of that is the first step into taking these natural law principles into those situations and using that as a way to self-govern yourself, because if you're completely oblivious of it, then you wouldn't think there's anything you needed to fix. So the fact that you're diagnosing the situations where you get triggered is a step in the right directions, because then that's going to allow you to be more mindful when that happens again. You'll get triggered and you'll be like, oh, wait a minute. I was just talking to Woody about this the other day. And like, so that's a reminder that, oh man, I just got triggered. Let's calm this thing down. Let's put the brakes on this thing a little bit, you know?
Right. I mean, but I think that's part of a really important part of what we can do, like in this discussion, because we can sit here all day and talk about how fucked up it is out there, and how shitty, and what other people are doing to us, and how they're displaying fear and stuff like that. But the thing is it's got to start with my behavior.
Yes.
The solution has to start with my behavior.
And my behavior, it starts on an individual basis.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's got to be like, I mean, and it never made. Who knows? You can't even say like whether it's actually going to change or not. I mean, but I can say to myself that I'm going to attempt to live by these principles myself, and regardless of what other people do. And that's, I think, something that Mark was talking about a while ago, maybe around 2012 or so, or maybe I don't know when it was, because I listened to this stuff. I listened to that stuff in 2015 to 2017, but about oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. Holy crap. My worst nightmare. What were we talking about?
The just like diagnosing our on an individual basis, our triggers, so that we can on an individual basis have better self-governance and control to a certain extent, I think is what you were talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember. I was just about to say something and it just flew right out of
Because
my
you were
head.
kind of talking about like earlier, you were talking about like some of the things like the trigger, where you get triggered in your relationship, you get triggered when you're behind the wheel. And so and then you're talking about taking individual responsibility for trying to be more mindful in those situations is kind of the take I've been getting.
Yeah, I
remember.
I was going to say something that I cannot. Maybe it'll come back to me, but who knows? But
it will.
But just to give people like a place to start with this stuff, because I mean, we can talk about what other people should do all day long.
Yeah, but we have to live it too. We can't say, oh, you got to do it like this, or this is how we have pure freedom, is living under objective morality, and then we go out there and act in moral ways and get angry at people when we're driving and bite our spouse's heads off, versus frivolous things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and all of us, the thing is, all of us are in a different place spiritually, and so who knows where other people are at, but I have to do it myself, for myself, regardless if anybody else ever does it.
And, for sure.
And that's annoying. That really does annoy me a lot, but that's just the way it is. I mean, there's no telling. Like, I can't. Part of the tyranny to me is I think I know what other people should do. I mean. Yeah,
but then if you're a dictator and you're telling everyone what they should do, then you're doing exactly what you're fighting against. Now you're the tyrant,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even if we're talking about natural law, I mean, we can present information, we can offer, ways to start to apply it in your life so that you can start to live by natural law in your life if you're not, or add other ways to do it or whatever. But it's your choice. If you don't want to do it, don't.
Well, that's the free will aspect of it, when you're a parent, you really start understanding free will good, because your kids, they have it and they're not always going to want to listen to you, And you see it real big time when you have kids. You're like, okay, yeah, they're exercising their free will right here, you know?
That's pretty funny.
Because they know, they're like, I'm my own person. I can, you know, my dad can say this, but I can actually do this other thing. And, you know, they may harm themselves by doing that. If I'm like, don't pull on that tablecloth, you know, and then they're like, yeah, I choose not to listen to my dad. And they continue to pull on it. And then the iron pot holder that's sitting on the tablecloth falls and smashes their toe. Well, that was a lesson they needed to learn, you know. That's the reason I was telling them not to pull on the tablecloth, right? Because I knew there was heavy stuff on the table that could potentially harm them. But hey, they decided not to do that. Well, they, you know, had the consequence of the iron thing hitting their foot, but it may not have hit their foot either. It may just hit the ground next to the foot and not cause any harm, you know. But me being a parent, I'm just trying to protect my child, you know, on the off chance that the thing does hit them, you know. But you know, and sometimes they're not going to learn a lesson. Sometimes they're going to go against what I say and everything's going to work out. They're not going to learn a lesson, and that's okay too. Because maybe the next time they're going to learn that lesson, you know.
You know, that shows that that everyone has their own connection to the source, and they have to listen to it. And that shows like that flies in the face of the corporations, you know, telling everybody what everybody has to do, when in fact everybody has their own individual solution for what they have to do, and they have to figure it out for themselves.
For sure. Exactly.
I mean,
you know,
that's the whole.
There's more ways. There's more than one way to cook vegetable soup, you know.
Oh yeah, I like that.
At the end, you're gonna have vegetable soup, but you know, there's probably, you know, thousands of different combinations of steps you can take, and you still end up with vegetable soup.
Yep, that's true. Exactly. And so, everyone should be encouraged to listen to that inner voice, because ultimately that's all you're going to have is you and your inner voice. There could come a time when you don't have any other person or there to help you, you know, and
For sure.
you have your inner voice at that point. So, you know,
that's when you need to make that heart-mind connection and really understand your intuition, and also the difference between right and wrong action.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Because that's gonna, if you know all those things, it's gonna make your decision a lot easier when you're by yourself. And there's a crossroads that, you know, that you have to face.
Right. Exactly. That is 100% true. I just watched that go down the other day with. Oh yeah, something, you know, I mean, because I'm a know-it-all, you know, I really am a know-it-all, but I do keep my mouth shut a lot now, a lot better than I used to. And
I'm part of that, yeah. No, I know how you are.
I just watched somebody, you know, told me they were going to do something a certain way. I thought to myself, whatever, you idiot, or whatever I thought, right? And they did it way, and it totally worked out, and it worked out perfectly for them. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. I'm glad I did for fear.
Yeah.
You know, and they did, and their whole thing was they didn't want to cause harm. See, I didn't really think that my way would have quote unquote caused harm exactly, but I was gonna definitely my way would have used force against what I felt was violence, but they just waited it out. And it all worked out.
Yeah.
So that just showed me that they have their own intuition, and that's another. These are the other ways like I can practice this stuff.
Patience too.
Damn business. minding my own business, not giving my opinion on every little thing of what other people should do. I mean, this is something I think that our society has fostered through social media, is giving our opinions unsolicited,
Right.
Is another. No,
Everyone has their own opinion, that's for sure.
Who needs it? If somebody doesn't ask me for my opinion, then I gotta keep my mouth shut. I don't have to, but it's not friendly. It's not a very friendly way to behave. It doesn't bring more people closer to me. If all I have to offer them is my opinion about what they're doing, no.
Well, no one likes to know it all. And so, and that's where the patience things comes in, because like you were saying earlier, everyone's at a different place in their spiritual journey or their life, in their awakening process. Everyone's in different levels of that. And so you have to be patient with these people too, because it took me years to come to the understanding that I'm at now. And I can't expect to just tell someone, rattle off a couple of paragraphs to someone and expect them to come to the same realization that I have, about natural law and reality and all that stuff. And I'm still learning stuff. So I can't even, claim to be a know-it-all and all that stuff, because I'm still learning. This is schoolhouse planet Earth, everyone, if you have that open-mindedness that, I'm always learning every day as a new hurdle of information and knowledge that I'm taking in and internalizing and learning, so but you have to have that patience for the people who may be behind or even ahead, whatever, however that might look, if that patience isn't there, it's going to cause a lot of it's going to cause people to get angry and to have too high of a level of cognitive dissonance to where the relationship no longer ceases to exist. And it may even deter them from further going into some of that information philosophically that you're trying to convey, It's like I mentioned earlier when we were talking with Jeff. But and it can be hard to have that patience, with people. Very difficult.
Horrible. Somebody like me who knows everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to have that level of patience, even if you aren't a know-it-all,
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
because everyone is a know-it-all to a certain extent,
Well, and especially now, in the freedom movement, we have to be very careful of that too. I mean, because we really, I don't know, when I had a friend of mine die in the World Trade Center, and he worked for Cantor Fitzgerald, which was the law firm on the top floor of World Trade Center.
I know. I saw there's a whole movie about them.
So anyway, after grieving that, I had to just believe that those people had to go at that time, that life and death is not a choice by us humans, that we stay here as long as we're supposed to stay here, and then we go. And so that's where it's again, it's just the people who decided to get this vaccine or whatever, that's their path, and I'm not gonna question it.
The thing too is there's no blanket right answer path for everyone. you know.
Right, so I mean, I feel bad, so grateful that I haven't gotten it yet. I know that I chose to get into autonomy, the school where we met, so that I could be in a community of people who weren't going to do it, because I knew that I am subject to groupthink. But I understand too that the people who did get it, that's what they did, and I'm gonna try not to hold it against them.
Mhm.
That's their path. Glad it's not my path, but that's
Yeah, I
their path.
mean, it's, and like, there's all kinds of, situations there, you could get into and argue about, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's like part of being in the state we want, this state of freedom, is having the acceptance to accept that other people have free will, and then you can't, there's not a right answer for everyone, and you have to have that level of acceptance that that's not the way I would do it, or that's not the way I see it, but they're not actually causing any harm, so I should be able to accept that, in that person without causing conflict. Because I recognize, because of my understanding of morality, I recognize that if they're doing something a little different, but it's not causing harm, so I'm not gonna.
It's causing harm, even if it is causing harm, in a
Yeah.
way, some of it, I mean, I have no control over,
Well,
That's-
even if it is causing harm, you can only plant the seed and then have patience with people, and if they decide to go in the direction, and maybe they put themselves in harm's way, that's their free will decision, but the fact that if you're going to mandate something and force everyone to blanket do something, that's where you're infringing on people's free will and the rights, because there isn't a blanket thing that's right for everyone,
right.
when it comes to stuff like that, health, and everyone's body chemistry is slightly different. And so there's no blanket thing that's like a, end all cure all for all people,
Oh, right.
doesn't work that way,
Oh,
unfortunately.
yeah, right. No, exactly. Exactly.
But I feel like a lot of people out there, they think that is how it works. They think there is a blanket thing that everyone should conform to and bend over to, and, accept as the truth, without even, coming to that understanding themselves. They're just kind of going in and ignorant, being ignorant about it, or just not, maybe it's not even ignorant, they're just nescient, which is another topic we're going to get into in a later episode, the whole idea of nescience versus ignorance.
Yeah, right.
We'll be getting into that later on.
I mean, at this point where we're at, now, I don't even know. The information's available now, it's so available, but there's so much of it. You have to use such discernment, and you have to use such amazing judgment somehow to be able to discern what's true and what isn't. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. And a lot of people, they're just so busy with the rat race, that they don't even think they have time to look into some of this stuff and really internalize it.
I think that is true. I mean, just I'll go back to the PMA, for example. That's a great, I like to stick with, things that where I have an experience with this, but I sometimes, as I'm going through this process, I go, oh my God, is this real? Is this real, or is this just a whole scam? And
Well, one of the things that makes me worry about it is it's a contractual thing that has a man-made law attached within it, and and like I have this thing about like contracts and binding, paper contracts with rules and stuff. It's like kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of weird to me. It's that it goes on to that whole notion of the fact that we have man-made laws when there already is God law, and man-made law is like redundant. So any organization that's incorporated LLC, or where you're creating essentially a fictitious entity, with imaginary borders where laws and rules are different. I don't know. It's just, to me, if we had true freedom, yeah, there's going to be organizations but they're going to be different kinds of organizations. They're going to be organizations where it's like a community of people coming together who live in an area where it snows, and they're going to be like, well, it snows here, so we're going to have to figure out a system to clear our roads so we can get around and get to the places where we're growing our food and different things like that. And so it's like, that doesn't have to be controlled by a governing thing. That just is kind of like a gentleman's agreement within the community that like, hey, look, we got to be able to get places, so we have to have some sort of agreement where, like, said people, part of their contribution is that hey, I like to drive, I like to, so I'll be a plower, I'll go plow because I know, that our community needs it, and that I'm a part of the community. So I want to contribute in ways that I can. And I happen to have this skill set where I'm good at, operating this machine safely. So I'm going to step up and be the person that does that.
Oh yeah,
and if I have kids, if I'm a single parent, like, or something, and I have kids, then there's going to be another person in the community that's like, hey, I'm excellent with children, so I understand that you have to, get up early and plow the roads. Well, I can, on your way, you can drop your kid off with me, and I'll make sure that they're safe and they get food and they, everything, their needs are met while you're off doing that, making sure that the roads are clear so our community can communicate and transport,
Right, but I mean, we're not there yet, though. That's all.
No,
fantasy.
no, we're not. It is all fantasy.
It's a fantasy, man. We got to get there. I mean, the point is still living in this society, and that's why it's going to just take time to slowly build the other society. But until then, we all have to eat. We have to eat while we were born into this slave system, and so by the grace of probably natural law itself, we get to awaken to this truth, and we can start to build a world that we may or may not get to enjoy the fruits of, but hopefully our kids will be able to enjoy the fruits of, but we're still in this, we're still using Federal Reserve notes, and we still have to get by somehow. While we're so that's why I mean this thing has been around since the beginning of business, which I think is the Old Testament. I think this thing has been around since that time to protect the people who were enslaving the other people, so that they didn't have to participate in the thing they were inflicting on other people.
Well, yeah, and that's like like being above authority,
Yeah, this is the same, system that they like. This is the same thing they're doing today, where they're the Satanists' laws of conduct for themselves are different from what they are perpetrating on the masses. They're perpetrating, cause harm to others and steal onto the masses so that the masses will experience natural law violation, the result of natural law violation, which is chaos, while they themselves are not practicing that themselves. They themselves are carefully not practicing that. You know, I mean, I've seen the tenets of Satanism.
Yeah.
They include teaching other people to be solipsists, but they aren't.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They have a healthy respect for natural law. They have learned, the sick thing about the psychopath is they've learned how to get around natural law by getting other people to do their dirty work. But I promise you, they will have to pay when they expire.
They only think they've got around it.
Yeah, no, they haven't.
But the thing is, they haven't, because guess what? Some of these people that you're talking about have a great deal of fear, and they live in like, you know, these mansions with like multiple levels of security because they're so attached to their power. They're so afraid to lose their power and their wealth that they're locking and they're, you know, imprison themselves in these like communities and mansions, you know, by having like a gate that you have to go through just to get into their neighborhood. And then you have another gate you have to go through just to get into their driveway. And then, you know, you have the door you have to get through, and then, you know, so it's like they are still within the chaos themselves. They just think they're protecting themselves from it, but they still have their own form of chaos. It's just different than the other form, you know, because of that whole as above, so below kind of thing, you know.
Sure. No,
Because they're enslaving others, they're enslaving themselves by being in fear that they're going to lose that control over others.
You know, I was watching this one thing on Netflix the other day. I don't know if you were familiar with this, but did you see this Inventing Anna thing, this movie? It was a documentary about this. I believe she's a psychopath. This woman, she's a psychopath who moved to the United States from Germany in like 2015, and she scammed the New York elite out of like $40 million. She was only 25 years old. She's 25 years old, and she convinced everybody that she was a German heiress. And she had this big project that she wanted, and she convinced all these people in Manhattan, like the super high rollers, with old money to invest in her project. And as it turned out, she's not an heiress at all. She seems to be a psychopath, and it's all true. Right now, she's in prison she went to prison for 12 years in New York, and then she was picked up by ICE for overstaying her visa. So now she's like in between United States and Germany. But what was so interesting about it was how these people, these kind and well-meaning people, the journalist and her lawyer, got so taken up by trying to help her when she's just a fucking psychopath. There's no help. You're just going to get manipulated into the machine, you know? And I don't even think that was the intent of the movie. I don't even think the movie intended to expose that aspect of it. I think people basically felt sorry for her because she was so young, but pure psychopath. You know, she used people and had no remorse at all. Only cared about how the negative publicity was gonna harm her reputation. Used the courtroom as a fashion, like a fashion show or whatever. And it was just so amazing to me just to watch how the people, like the order follower type people, fell for it. Just fell for it. And that's a big part of our problem, is that, you know, we're judging people on our perception of them rather than on their actions. you know?
Right. Yeah. It's like you're like, oh, look at that person. They're,
Oh, she's so young. And
they're
her
dressed in a
parents
certain way.
abandoned her. Well, yeah, her parents abandoned her because they recognized that she was a sociopath and they knew they couldn't help her. Like the journalist went to Europe, went to Germany to meet her parents to find out like how horrible they must have been. And they were just regular people. They were like, she's always been different. We don't know what's wrong with her and we've cut her off because she's impossible to deal with.
Right.
Oh yeah, psychopath, man. But these
Yeah,
people,
it's like, hey, be careful with her.
yeah. So it was just very educational to me. I was like, wow, see, this is exactly what, Stefan, what's that guy's name?
Verstappen.
Yeah, him and Passio have talked about with regards to psychopaths, is that they know how to mimic a kind-hearted person. And
Oh,
people
yeah.
fall
Oh yeah.
at the expense, like this is a true story. Like the lawyer, like gave up his vacation with his wife to stay to try to help her, even though she totally tortured him the whole time. And the journalist had just had a baby, and she left her baby with her husband so that she could continue to help this psychopath at the expense of the baby. It was unbelievable. I was like, wow, this is a real problem we have, This is one of our main problems, is that our own trauma gets triggered by these people's behavior, and then we end up
well, it's almost like the same thing. It's almost like reverse psychology. That's like, or like, it's almost like, what is that? I was going to say like, when, how like some women might complain, why do I always get in relationships with these abusive men? It's almost like they're attracting that, on themselves, and they're saying they don't like it, but then they keep making that same mistake and falling for those same kind of, men or whatever.
right.
And it's like these kind-hearted people are falling for this psychopath, because she's manipulating it in a way to make it look like it's like, she's the victim, when she's actually really the one causing the harm.
Right. And it's some kind of weird way that people hide their own abusiveness under someone else's abusiveness.
I see what you mean.
So it was very interesting to me. It was very, very interesting to see that aspect of it. I was like, wow, this is definitely this is definitely something that happens all the time, constantly. How these people, got into power. But how to not be that person that is manipulated by, or who gets brought into the drama because it's so interesting.
Right.
Again, is part of trying to practice these principles and trying to become aware of your own shadow that would
definitely
attract this kind of situation.
Yeah, that influence, you got to be careful of what's you're letting influence you,
Yep.
Oh wow, it's like we're
What time
1
is it?
minute till 8:00.
Oh, really?
Yeah, easy to lose track of time when you're working on these things. I'm not going to finish my painting here in this sitting, but it's all right.
I like it.
We'll come back to it.
I mean, I made a bunch of
Whatever.
decisions. See, this is the great thing about doing art and talking at the same time is I took a bunch of risks that I was afraid to take on this piece. And
Yeah.
I was so involved in the conversation that I didn't even think twice about the risks I was taking. So that's exactly the point.
Sure. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I just keep going, plugging away. I think it almost like helps like distract you from, judging your piece too. Cause I've noticed that I'm like, haven't been really judging my painting that much. I've just been painting it. And I'm just like, I'm going to do this next. And I'm not judging like, oh, those weird silhouetted characters look weird or whatever, I'm just like, they're there. They're conveying what I want them to. And then I'm like, well, I don't feel like drawing all of them in right now because then I'm going to have to paint around all of them. So I'm going to draw the rest, in more around. So there's a lot of people, silhouetted there, kind of circling around like it's one big circle kind of thing. But it's easier to just get this background in there first, and then I can let the paint dry a little bit and then put those people in later.
Right, exactly. Like, I mean, I really did some stuff here that I was not sure I was gonna do. And now it's done. So it's like, okay, well, this is the way it is.
Yeah, it's the way it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Well, because I had to, I'm not gonna get into it. It's too, I couldn't decide where the leaves were gonna go and where the pods were gonna go. And so, yeah, and now it's just,
They're just there.
I did it, and now I made a bunch of decisions, and I can just continue with the next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On it. And I won't have to, because normally if I wasn't talking, I would have probably sat here and stared at it for a few days. I probably wouldn't have been able to make those decisions.
Yeah.
Because I
know what you
don't
mean.
go back and do this over because it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Oh, any creative project like this is a lot of work. And I think we're kind of shedding a light on how much effort actually goes into like doing a painting or doing a piece of art. And I think a lot of people have taken that effort for granted. They're like, they think it takes like 5 minutes to do a drawing or a piece of art. No, it takes hours and hours and hours,
Yeah, I already did a sketch of this thing. I've done a few sketches of this. I've already thought about this. Like, I've got a bunch of sketches in my sketchbook. This particular one has caused me a great deal of aggravation. Trying, because it's this one has taken, there's so many sketches for this one, and I actually had originally done a whole other drawing, and then I didn't like it, and so I cut out the parts that I liked, and then I was stuck for a long time trying to figure out how I was going to do it. So yeah, it's taken, I can't even count how many hours to get to this point,
Right. Yeah, no. And that's what a lot of people don't understand that about art. They're like, and then it's like, people are like, well, how long did that take you? And it's like, you're trying to monetize the thing and think about like, well, it took me X amount of hours and I should deserve this amount of income for my hourly work on that. And then it's like, people are like, well, I'm not going to buy that. I think, what, you're selling that thing for, $10,000. I'm like, well, yeah, but it took me like freaking, 3.5 months to make this thing. It's like, that's like a quarter of the year. If I don't make 10 grand on this thing, then like, I don't make a living.
Yeah, that's the whole other aspect you're just bringing up right now of that's been imposed on us about like trying to get the cheapest thing.
Oh yeah.
And how much harm that causes,
Causes all kinds of harm.
And so the remedy, one remedy to that is to buy locally. and just pay the extra money
For sure.
and try not to buy from, big corporations.
For sure.
Like, and we have natural grocers here, obviously, but it has become a corporation too. And they're totally being dishonest about a lot of their practices, unfortunately.
For sure. I mean, it was like a real nice local grocery store here, but yeah, it's gotten big and corporate. And,
Yeah, they're lying. They're totally lying about organics, certain organics, and it's really sad. And that's why we do need to start to support our farmers.
yeah. Well, the thing too is like, just because it has the organic label on it doesn't mean it's healthy,
Well, it doesn't mean anything anymore because now, thanks to our buddies over at Amazon, they have lobbied to lower the standards of organic. So organic is
Oh
probably
yeah,
now
of course.
no longer even organic.
Yeah, it's like they're like, well, the market is saying they want organic stuff. So how can we make the conventional stuff organic? Well, we lower the regulations.
Yeah, it's totally fucked up, man.
So
Oh,
yeah, no, I agree.
Us, man.
But yeah, it's coming to the end of our thing. So I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream here. I'm going to go ahead and tell people that, if you want to come back next Monday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we're going to be discussing more philosophy and doing some more artwork. Let me just check here real fast what our topic is for next week. Where did I put that? Just bear with me for a second here. No, that's not it. And I noticed that this was part of the topic of this week. Well, it was in my spreadsheet as it, but it's was talking about the difference between occult information and like mainstream information. And I think that would be a great thing to kind of discuss. How that there is information that is kind of, it's not necessarily that it's hidden all the time. And sometimes, yes, it is very much so hidden. It's just not necessarily put in front of people as much as some of the other information. And so that could be a fun art piece to kind of show that polarity of, occult information versus mainstream information.
Versus what?
Well, it's the occult knowledge versus, or just the notion that there is, hidden knowledge,
Yeah, and we can also go for occult, the word occult.
And I think that could maybe even tie into the whole nescience versus ignorance kind of thing too, or that maybe that's even a separate subject too, but, occult knowledge equals hidden knowledge. The role of knowledge to understand how to get, to the desired state, and some of that knowledge has been occulted, and that makes people nescient of it. And so we're going to dig into that really in depth next week. So we hope you join us next week. That being said, if you're interested, go ahead and subscribe and you'll get a reminder of that event taking place next week. So